There are many perceptions that people have of children of revolutionaries that are not true. And there are things that a child of a revolutionary goes through that are also not easy. First of all, let us understand what is humanity before we talk about the problems of humanity. Humanity deals with survival of a human life and the quality of life of a human being. And when we are talking this, we are talking about it in the context of a system. If you are following me very well, I began with two systems. One of human life sustenance and survival, which is natural by creative intelligence, and then one which we made, where money became the life that runs and that determines everything. The human crisis is such that the system we have followed has led us a little bit behind in as far as the humanity element is concerned. The humanity element means none of the human needs are considered in this so-called system of ours of world management and world system and human survival is concerned. Because when we come to live the natural system of how we are supposed to be living, it means we have to create a fake. The fake means we are looking at the state of invention in one particular aspect. That means the more technology someone has, that is how you're classified as third world, second world, or first world. And the more technology we have discovered that we've destroyed the entire planet, the ecosystem in which we live. Air that we breathe is becoming a problem because from the fumes and the chemicals that we are making, we no longer have quality of air. We are now creating, because bacteria, viruses, protozoa, fungus are part of our health system. We've now had to create, as a result of these processed goods, commodities and technology that we are making. Now we are having a shortage of life, whereby we cannot live that long. So in terms of health, like I said, we are first defining the problems of humanity. Now the problems of health have come to forefront. So what if you make money? But what if money can't give you life? It can't give you the air you breathe. It cannot make you not fall sick. It can't cure you of anything that you have. Then what is money? These systems that we have created haven't gotten a human being at the center because of the state of invention. Like I can give you an example. The most developed countries have always had the greatest wars. These wars are not on African soils. And because they have had the greatest wars, the biggest problem has become that if development doesn't consider human being, then what is development? Because it depends on the state of invention, how much technology you have. In Japan today, because of that technology, even a baby who is born has got its genes deformed. Because of this exposure to this kind of technology, human existence has become a problem. Our food, they are trying to solve the problem of us having not been in the human system. So now we are making genetically modified food. And as we are making genetically modified food, we are hoping to replace the genes that come from the soil, the fungus and bacteria. Our entire body is a bacteria, fungus and genes. The reason I'm talking about bacteria, fungus and genes, I want to bring in the human science of why farming black soldier larvae is very much a natural process. And it's supposed to be one of the ways of our economic processes of living. And as we try to bring in this, we find that, okay, there are people who studied. There is Dr. William Lai, there is Zach Bush, and Gabor Mate. These ones have come up and said, wait a minute. Even if we are to make medicine for human beings for survival, like I told you, now the issue is not about how much money you're making, but can humanity survive? So now they are saying, now we are not going to rely on medicine anymore. What we are going to do now is, these are doctors of research, because when we are trying to find medicine to make a human being live more, we have to isolate a cell on a petri disk and study it, remove it from its natural environment and study it, meaning by virtue of the mere fact of doing that experiment, it is wrong because you've removed it from its natural environment. So we have to kill it somehow, and then from killing it, then we study how we expose it to medicine. So they've come and demystified this whole thing that there is no such thing as medicine. Let us go and we try to learn the human systems, and we look at what else, what brings them to this conclusion. They realize that for some of the chronic diseases, viruses, bacteria, chemotherapy has been used for cancers. When they went and studied, which this is part of human science, they studied the soils which had not been tampered with. And they realized that the minute they put a cancer cell into this soil, just mere soil of protozoa, bacteria, and fungi and viruses, which is natural soil, which had not been tampered with, no chemicals, no spraying, no nothing, they discovered a cancer cell died off. So these doctors said, now, we've changed our minds. This is not the way to go. If someone is sick, let them change the environment where they are. Because now we go back to studying human sciences. They begin to say now, everything which is supposed to make you well is around you. As you put your palm on the ground, you're picking the genes and codes from the soil. And that is helping your integrity. They further discovered that someone who is given medicine for an antifungal, a 7-year-old, the brain shrunk. It became much smaller. What does that mean? He will grow up with half the capacity to think and to innovate and more susceptibility to develop more diseases. So now there is for the first time, by the time I studied human sciences, I thought I was studying something which is not going to exist. But as I am looking at it now, I'm looking at it now, look, now this has the solution. So what is the solution? Figure out what to do. Figure out how you're living your life. Figure out how do we go back to this system that we diverted from and we make an economy out of that. In this concept, I brought as a demonstration of this entire science, the black soldier fly farming. Black soldier fly farming keeps the integrity of the soil. Because this eats at it, the urine of it is a pesticide. It leaves it puts back the structure and molecular structure support as in the original state of the evolved bacteria that we had and fungus. Meaning if you ate anything from that type of microbial-organism activity, you are most likely to even repair your body structure by the mere fact that what you're eating is coming from that soil. For example, lycopene is a content in tomatoes. 1960s and the time before, on its own you could eat tomatoes and cure cancer. Today, it has 10% lycopene, pesticides, spray, type of soil. You have a bigger chance of getting sick by eating a tomato than even anything else. So this is the driver of the economy now. It has changed the dynamics of what the economy should be. Economy means we go back to decomposed matter. What are we able to get out of that? It means all the medicine we are talking about is not going to help us in the long run. Maybe it can help in the short run. In the long run, there are studies that are trying to say, let us look at human science also as a science that actually helps a person. This is an economic support system as well. And how it is solving, I can't look at the problems of the whole world, but I can look at the problems in as far as poverty is concerned. In looking at poverty, if we look at decomposed matter alone, it is an area we haven't even explored. It has all these benefits that are coming from human sciences that we haven't even tried to touch or tackle. We are so ignorant that someone will say, oh, black soldier fly larvae, maggots. Your entire body is bacteria, fungus. The same way this black soldier fly makes pesticide is the same way bacteria are making antibodies in your own body to protect you from disease. So when you're saying that this is bad, it is even the one which synthesized and made sure that you are able, not this black soldier fly, but microbial organisms like it, that you're able to have air that you breathe. So you're looking at solving human problems that way. And when you're looking in terms of poverty alleviation, you have to look in Africa at the quality of life. GDP does not look at subsistence farming. There is no way it is put in there. And 65%, according to FAO and world statistics, 65% of Africans, or even Ugandans in this context, are farmers. Now, if they are doing subsistence, and for subsistence is a means of survival, I'm just making food to put in my mouth. So if I'm making food to put in my mouth, when are you going to have a commercial activity out of me? So that you can be able to reflect it in GDP and GNP. Meaning that each time we say that we have moved from a low class income to a middle class, we are leaving 65% people behind. So it is only the balance of the 65 that we are talking about. We are not talking about the 65%, because the 65 are just eating from, that is subsistence, having food to eat every day. So we are not going to be talking about, so if we are talking about poverty eradication, we have to talk about household incomes. And this is where Black Soldier Fly comes in. Everybody within this is able to get something that they can put within their incomes. You create a money economy from the lowest 500 shillings, 1,000 shillings, and then it goes up and up. And one last thing, if you're ever to change anything about a human being, you have to understand the psychology of a human being, which is again human science. People are not looking for meaning in life. They are simply looking to be alive. Someone wants to wake up every day in the morning and be happy, to wake up to something. So you need to give them something which they don't need much effort to begin with, until they love it enough that they use it to create meaning in their life. When they earn from something small and then they go up into something big, then that is when they'll start thinking of, now I have gotten money, I need more, so I must expand. Values are growing. Now I need to do even more so that I can keep doing what I keep, so that it never goes away from me. Now we are having values which are creating a certain culture within a community. Then when you create that culture and they say, now I need to safeguard my status so that this job is never taken away from me, then they create the values that support these kinds of things that they've done. So it is a tier, step by step, to get to where they want to go. But people are not looking for meaning in life. Meaning comes after they have found something to wake up to every morning. And this is what this is going to be. I can't solve the problems of the world, but I believe that what I studied at least solves a problem in a way that an individual can do it, and those that are working with us, in at least helping the issue of poverty, household income, quality of life, educating the people about the environment, and the support system all around that really helps you. Before I even go any further, there is something that was found out recently. Certain groups of Africans had different genes from those of whites, and you'll say Africans are usually considered to have a sickle cell, and whites are considered to have an albino cell. But these two things are different. The difference was not because of that. The difference was because an African in the area where they tested was getting an animal and putting it on the back. And in that process, the bacteria and viruses which were in an animal were getting through the skin into the African. And this that they were eating was poisonous. But it did not do any African any harm. You know why? He became the animal through the bacteria that was from the animal before he could eat it. So there is no way something that he was could cause him poison. And you find they also discovered that, look, when you are looking at people, their health system, you're looking at how they are surviving, you've got to look at the entire world and ecosystem surrounding them. What they also discovered in these sciences, which are now added to human sciences, is this: that when people were not able to be given food, now food is being recommended as a type of medicine. Not that the conventional medicine is not a problem. I mean, it's not a solution. But There are others that are now trying to explain the health condition even more. And as they tried to tell these people, you eat this kind of food, you take that, they discovered there are those who are even subjected to the right food that did not get better. This was a group of cattle keepers. These cattle keepers were in the communities living longer before, like cowboys. But time came, they tested their soil. When they tested their soil, they discovered that the soil structure which was giving them food had been polluted. Who polluted it? The pests in the cow that are injected there. The minute this gets on the ground, everybody, as you step, your footstep is every day getting genetic codes, bacterial support that is supposed to help your health system. So as they stepped down, they found that they were getting more of these diseases. So the issue was, try to find ways of making organic pesticides instead of making chemical ones. So they were finding these people who used to live longer, suffering more from cancers, suffering more from issues that were never there before. And then they were wondering. So I believe this is the way that human science is trying to look at solving the human problem, which human problem is the sustenance of a human life on this planet. When you're understanding human science as a science, you look at patterns that make consistency. But when you look at patterns that make consistency, you also derive from a problem. Problem is where you begin. Then you go backwards in trying to solve that problem. Then you come back and implement what you have found as the steps to solving this problem. The elements of national power that we really are talking about come from a point of realizing that we are talking about a state of powerlessness, where now we are talking about preserving human life, and money doesn't even feature. It involves acquiring a certain knowledge, certain elements that make each country now powerful, void of anything else. These have been there. They are tangible elements and intangible elements. The tangible elements are GDP, GNP, but we've already seen gross domestic product, gross national product have loopholes because they don't involve the subsistence farming of the poor people. They plan from up to bottom. But their structure cannot reach the micro because they are looking at the macro, the bigger picture. The small elements are not put into consideration. And these small elements also have a problem. They are not aggregated that so many people are doing small elements at the same time for this to get an aggregation which can go and be reflected. But nonetheless, GDP and GNP are one of the tangible elements of national power. The population, how many people you have, and how this population is active is another. Uganda is at a disadvantage. Those that are taxed are those that work. The 65% that are on subsistence farming, you can't tax them. So the tax burden falls on the few, almost like a punishment for being able to work, while encouraging not working at the same time. But it is a national population. If everybody was working, however small something it is that they're working on, if the population was working, that would be a tangible element of national power. Another is military. You know, we have to consider. Your ability to be able to defend yourself is also an element of national power. Another is geography. If you have minerals, you have petroleum, is also another element of national power. Nonetheless, we need to combine this with another system. Which system I was talking about of human life sustenance in areas that these tangible elements of national power have not been able to solve. So that is where we are going to look at the intangible elements of national power. We look at the quality of research a country has. All these things, if they are not researched, if they are not put into practice, you are as strong as the quality of your own research. Otherwise, you can't even guarantee your own life and you live a lot of your life in ignorance. The next is level of intelligence. A country must have people that think for it, people that research these ideas. This is why some countries have intellectual bank. Now we are forced to look into the intangible elements of national power because the tangible ones have always been there, but they've left the human element aside. Next, we look at the culture that promotes development and working within a community. That is an intangible element of power. We look at the degree of bureaucracy. And in other words, how is it something that is up there? And now when you make bureaucracy, is it able to reach the bottom? And when it reaches the bottom, how effective is it? That is an intangible element of national power. Then next is the type of leadership that people have. And I want to talk about it not just from the level of a president. We've been doing this project, and the people who are mobilizers on the ground are not what you expect. Village people, women and heads of families. It's a type of leadership which will determine the quality of service that you get. So we begin with the basic social unit, the quality of leadership within families. And that helps us, then we can talk at the quality of leadership at the local council level, quality of leadership at the district level, quality of leadership up to the bigger leaders as